Hello there and welcome to the Coffee with Colin, and thanks for tuning in. This is part 3 of a 4-part mini-series that I put together to give you some tools to help you create the life that you really want. And it started a number of weeks back when I introduced you to PJ and his fur-lined mousetrap, which allowed me then expand on my own theory, the patchwork quilt theory of life and work. That led to us talking about a 2020 vision. In other words, how do you want your life to look on your birthday in 2020? Very important date for you to consider. How do you want your life to look on your birthday in 2020? Because once you know how you'd like your life to look on your birthday in 2020, well then you should begin to make decisions today to guide you towards that particular vision. And so several people came back and said, that's all very fine, Colin, but how might we do it? So I've put together this 4-part mini-series to help. And so the 4-part mini-series consists of, a few weeks ago we spoke about Quadrant 2 living and the priority management matrix. I'm not going to go into that today because we've done so. If you need to revisit it, please visit the blog. I've put a link at the bottom of this particular blog. Following that, we spoke about the big rocks theory, and I'm not going to go back into that either, but the link is at the bottom of the blog if you need to. But essentially the big rocks theory is where you and I need to start taking back control of our lives and working on those things that are most important to us first rather than last. Oftentimes they get pushed to the bottom of the pile because other people and other agendas encroach on us. And it has led to part 3, which is today. And today I want to talk to you about the roles that you play. And then once we get finished today, if you'd like to come back next week, I'll show you a system where you can create a planner, a diary that will actually allow you to take advantage of all of what we learned over the last number of weeks. Quadrant 2 living, big rocks theory, the roles that you play, and put it together in a calendar that actually works and delivers for you. So, what roles do you play? How many roles are you currently juggling in your life? Let me give you some ideas perhaps. Are you a parent? Are you a son or a daughter? Are you a sibling? Are you a boss? Are you an employee, even if that's an employee of your own company? Are you a subordinate? Are you a manager? Are you a friend? Are you a spouse or a partner? Are you a cousin? Are you a volunteer? Are you a church member? Are you a team member? Lots and lots and lots of different roles out there. I'm not sure which ones you play, and how many hats that you wear during your week. But the reality is none of us is one-dimensional. So you and I are definitely wearing more than one hat. The question is, what are they, how many are they, and which ones are the more important ones? I believe that at times all of us wake up some days with that gnawing sense of dread in the pit of our stomach because we're not quite sure that our life is on track, and we're never quite sure why that might be, and we take a stab at it to see what we can figure out. What I have learned over the years is that far too many professionals tend to put time and effort into planning their career, their profession, their work activities to gain a result, but fail to do so in all the other areas of their lives. And if you just look back at that last list of roles, possible roles that you and I play, well then we really do need to give some thought to all of them if we're going to have a fully orbed life and remove that gnawing sense of dread. You've probably heard the phrase, if it's to be, it's up to me. And if you're a professional like me, well then you've probably heard it most often in relation to your career objectives and your career success. If it's to be, it's up to me. Rah, rah, rah. But let's just apply the if it's to be, it's up to me philosophy to all the other roles in our lives, and just let's see what that looks like. Parent. If it's to be, it's up to me. If I'm going to be a good parent, it's up to me. It's not up to my kids. Son or daughter. If it's to be, it's up to me. If I want a relationship with my parents as they get older, if it's to be, it's up to me. Sibling. If I want a relationship with my brothers and sisters, if it's to be, it's up to me. Boss. If it's to be, it's up to me. Employee. If it's to be, it's up to me. Friend. If it's to be, it's up to me. Co-worker. If it's to be, it's up to me. Team member. If it's to be, it's up to me. Church member. If it's to be, it's up to me. Any role that you choose or that you believe that you have in your life, well then, if it's to be, it's up to me applies to you. And I have some good news and I have some bad news about that gnawing sense of dread if you've ever felt it. First of all, the gnawing sense of dread comes as a result of the fact that you and I are far too often one-dimensional. We tend to plan for and put all our time and effort into our careers and our professions, and we tend to ignore the rest of the roles that we play or hope that they'll look after themselves, take care of themselves. The bad news is they won't take care of themselves. We got to do something about it. If it's to be, it's up to me. The good news, however, is it can be done. Now I'm sure you're thinking to yourself, my goodness, I've enough going on already, Colin. How can I also take on all these roles and plan for them and so on? And I'm going to tell you how, if I may. And if you come back next week, I'm going to show you how. So I'm going to give you 5 things now, if I may, that will help you juggle those roles that you're playing a little better. You need a pen and paper for this. And the first step is write a list of all the roles that you play. Just write them down, no particular order, just start as they come to your mind and write them down. Are you a parent? Are you a son or daughter? Are you a sibling? Are you a spouse or partner? Are you a boss? Are you an employee? Are you a co-worker? Are you a friend? Are you a church member? I've no idea. Write all the stuff that you're currently involved in and the roles that you play. Just get them down there on paper. Second thing I want you to do, please, once the list is written, please go back and visit your 2020 vision. Because for step 3 you're going to need that, and by your 2020 vision I want to remind you, it's how do you want your life to look on your birthday in 2020, because that's the direction we're headed with this thing. So you now have a list of all the roles that you have. That's step 1. Step 2 is revisit your 2020 vision and get clear on it. Step 3 is, in light of your 2020 vision, prioritize your roles. In light of your 2020 vision, prioritize your roles. Jot down the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, the number 4, etc. in descending order against those roles that you deem to be most important in terms of your 2020 vision. Very important. So step 1, a list of the roles that you play. Step 2, revisit your 2020 vision. Step 3, prioritize your roles. And when you have that done, when you've taken steps 1, 2 and 3, we're going to look at step 4. And step 4 is to ask yourself a very simple question. Against the number 1 role that you've deemed to be most important in your life, against your 2020 vision for your life, against that role, your number 1 role, your top priority role, ask yourself, what one thing could you do next week that would have the biggest impact on that one role? What one thing could you do next week that would have the biggest positive impact on that number 1 priority role? And then write that down. And then go to role number 2 in terms of your 2020 vision and ask yourself the same question. What one thing could you do next week that would have the biggest positive impact on your number 2 priority role? And write that down. And then go to role number 3 and repeat, and role number 4 and repeat, and so on. And you'll end up with a list of roles that you play. You'll be clear in your 2020 vision. You'll have prioritized those roles 1 to 10 or 1 to 4 or 1 to 7 or whatever it is. And you'll now have identified what one thing in each of those roles that you could do next week that would have the most positive impact on that individual role. And then step 5 is do it. Simple as. Step 5 is make time next week to do that one thing in your top priority role, and that one thing in your second top priority role, and so on, and see how many of them you can get done. And then please, please, please come back next week and I'm going to tie all this together. I'm going to show you how to put together a diary that will give you the best shot at achieving your patchwork quilt theory of life, your 2020 vision, quadrant 2 living, big rocks theory, taking account of all the roles that you play. I'm going to give you a planner that will deliver on all of the above. So I'll see you here this time next week. And thank you for joining me for this week's Coffee with Colin. Hope and trust that you got something from it. If you've enjoyed it and you think somebody else would benefit, I'd be delighted if you'd pass the link on. If it's your first time here and you like more of this stuff, go to the homepage, ColinO'BrienMotivation.com, leave me your details, and I'll make sure you get a link like this on a weekly basis. If it's been of particular help and you'd like to tell me why, well then go to the bottom of the blog and leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Please consider what's been shared here today and apply it into thinking for next week. I've actually given you some homework in this week's Coffee with Colin, so get your homework done. And finally, please come back next week and we'll share another coffee together. Get some R&R, get some fresh air. If you spend a lot of time alone, get to meet some friends. If you spend a lot of time with people, take some time alone. Get some good coffee. Take some time out, and then when the time is right, and only when the time is right, get your head back in the game and get stuck in to another good week, and then we'll see you here this time next week. Sláinte. I really love good coffee. Talk to you soon. Bye for now. Have a great week.